Now, let's talk about 24 attorney generals writing to 25 major asset managers, including Morgan Stanley and Alliance Global Investors, alleging that in voting for environmental proposals flagged by activist group Ceres, these companies knowingly and willingly violated their legal obligation to act in the best financial interest of their clients. This is, again, a very interesting development, Kosha, in the fight against ESG. It's incredible because 5 years ago, you would not have expected that. ESG was just running rampant. It was a philosophy that businesses thought they had to enshrine into how they worked. And now there's this fight back saying, no, this is not in your shareholders' interest, and you could actually face an investigation.
Yeah, the pushback is definitely coming with either firings of these entire positions in different institutions or this taking legal action. And in the financial sector, it's one of the few where you can draw a pretty straight line between the fiduciary responsibility of asset managers or people on boards of those companies and the recommendations that they're making. So that's the angle that these AGs are going with. Now, the other side, of course, has very good legal representation, and they'll defend that in the court of law with its full, with full vigor, I'm sure. So I'm not sure where the legal fallout will be, but it is interesting that there is pushback coming at every level.
Well, it's essentially leftist activism that was forced upon corporates, whether they liked it or not. There is, as you said, this fight back happening in the US. Locally in Australia, is there even any awareness at all about what this is, how it's been used, and perhaps it not being actually a good thing for society or for the business world in general?
It would be an interesting one, just like here the super fund industry is so big and all that, and to kind of dig into that a little bit. We've talked about this before, that in some trends, I always feel like Australia is 5 years behind what we see in the US, so maybe this is a leading indicator, and then you'll see the ripple effect show up here.
Well, let's hope those ripples come soon, because, there just seems to be a complete lack of awareness of what this is. Now, we talked about Kamala's border wall flip-flopping, and it's going to be used against her because there is plenty of evidence of her being all for open borders. In her 2019 book, The Truths We Hold, Harris called the idea of a border wall not only useless and nothing more than a symbol, a monument standing in opposition to not just everything I value, but to the fundamental values upon which this country was built. In her social media post during the Trump administration, she also called it stupid and medieval vanity, a medieval vanity project. But now she's saying she'll back a border security bill that includes a $650 million pledge for a new border wall construction.
Kamala Harris has spent decades fighting violent crime. As a border state prosecutor, she took on drug cartels and jailed gang members for smuggling weapons and drugs across the border. As vice president, she backed the toughest border control bill in decades. And as president, she will hire thousands more border agents and crack down on fentanyl and human trafficking. Fixing the border is tough. So is Kamala Harris.
I'm Kamala Harris, and I approve this message.
In that Kamala ad, Trump's border wall actually featured in the ad. That was a bad move. We're supposed to believe that these policy changes, the backflips, are all just a natural realignment of her values, but no one's really buying that. No one's buying that. She's gone from defending people, paying people smugglers to bring them across the border, saying she'll back free healthcare for illegal immigrants. She wants to accelerate their path to citizenship, to now saying she's going to build walls.
I don't think anyone's buying it. She is not really a candidate. I look at her as a product, the outcome of a marketing campaign by the machinery. And this election and what's going to be on the ballot is how powerful that machinery and marketing campaign is of the Democrats versus candidate Trump, because if this does sell with enough people that the election, which is very, very tight right now, swings in her way, it will mean that all of the stuff that's on the record, her own book, as you cited, in 2019, she's been in the public eye for 20 years, didn't get cut through, and somehow she was just able to take a wand and make it all vanish. So it'll be very interesting to see how this plays out.
Absolutely. Now, several members of Tim Walz's extended family in Nebraska have been pictured in Walzs for Trump t-shirts in a clear sign they are in opposition to their vice presidential candidate relative. Those in the photo are related to Walz through his grandfather's brother, so I think these are like second cousins. But even his own brother, Jeff, has posted on Facebook that he is 100% opposed to Tim's views, commenting that he has thought hard about getting on stage with Donald Trump, describing his brother as not the type of character you want making decisions about your future. This is pretty harsh. I mean, we saw the media go big on some random Trump relative who they could find who was against Donald, even though they had very little contact with the family. I wonder how they're going to treat this, because you've got the cousins there, the second cousins, whatever they are, but to have the man's own brother come out so strongly, cuts through.
I suspect they'll try their best to suppress that, as they do. But you're right. I think that was Mary Trump's niece. We also saw with RFK Jr. just 2 weeks ago, 5 of his siblings came out and were very, very critical of his decision to endorse and support Trump. So when you see it in that way, the coverage will be more than here. I will say, in general, I'm not a fan of family members airing dirty laundry outside.
I think it's such a betrayal, isn't it?
It is, and letting politics come into it. But that said, in his case, there is a narrative that's taking hold about something is off with Tim Walz. Fairly or not, I feel like that between the stolen valor issue and other aspects about him, and this does feed into that, even though I agree. I think it would be nice if family members kind of kept quiet.
It's a bit Harry and Meghan for me. Kosher Gator, thank you so much for your time this evening.
Always a pleasure.